I grew up in a southern family, and if anybody know what it's like to grow up in a southern family, meaning all your foods are probably soaked in butter or cooked in fats, sugar added to almost any vegetable or anything. So growing up, I picked up those habits. If it didn't have butter in it, it didn't taste good. Didn't have enough salt in it, it didn't taste good. Didn't have sugar in it, it wasn't for me. So kind of growing up, I grew up with unhealthy eating habits. So of course, what happens if you have probably a slow metabolism like maybe myself, is that you start to gain weight, and then you diet to lose weight, and then you stop dieting and you begin to eat more, and that weight that you lost comes back, plus some of its cousins get added on to it. So it's a constant cycle of dieting, stop dieting, gaining weight, and it's just a constant struggle to stay what we consider thin or an acceptable weight to the average person. I think probably maybe after teenage years, when I most felt unhealthy is like probably in my 20s, and that's kind of where the yo-yo dieting came in. Try every bad diet that there was. So, and I think that starts an unhealthy eating, so because you're thinking that like if you starve yourself, if you eat less, which is not necessarily true, you will lose weight. I never made, thinking now, I never made the connection between exercising and eating healthy, making it a lifestyle change versus a bad diet. So, when people think of a diet, they always think of you're depriving yourself, but that's not what a diet is. A diet is what we eat. That's a diet. What foods consist of that you eat on a daily basis, that's your diet. It's not, when you say diet, people always think you're in a restriction mode. Now, when I eat now, like, you would probably be like, oh wow, she's eating that much food. I probably eat now more food than I ate when I was dieting, quote unquote dieting, and gaining weight. Yes, I had my first son when I was pretty young, and that's when I really started feeling uncomfortable with my weight, because that's when I start to gain weight more. And after every child, I have 4 children, and after every child I gained even more weight. At one time I had twins. My last children were twins, and I think after I had my twins, I was heavier than when I was pregnant with them at 9 months after I had my twins. And you always use the excuse of, this is baby weight. But after your baby is, 3-4 years old, you can't really use that excuse anymore, so you have to do something about it. So that's kind of where I was. The funny part is, when you are overweight, it seems like every time you go to the doctor, whatever wrong with you, oh, my finger hurts. Oh, it's because you need to lose some weight. Seems like that's always an excuse of why something is wrong with you. But what really, like I said before, I did a lot of yo-yo diets, and what my observation is that when I would eat correctly, I would lose weight. When I would exercise, I would lose weight, but I never connected the two. And then once I did the two, exercising and eating properly, I noticed that I lose even more weight. But still, I made that connection, but still I would do those things. I would either eat right, or exercise like crazy, or lose weight, stop, go back and forth. I would do both, then go back to, thinking that I don't, once I get to the size I wanted to get to, that I didn't have to do it anymore, which is so incorrect. You have to make a lifestyle change. And after my youngest children were born, I started thinking about all the things that I wanted to do with them. I wanted to be able to play with them. I wanted to be able to go to the park with them. So I didn't just want to be alive anymore. I wanted to actually live. just live, be full of life, be able to do anything with my children that I wanted to do. Being heavy, not saying that you can't do those things, but it limits you. So that's what kind of made my decision that I wanted to change my life. And I knew that I had to make this a lifestyle change. The things that I did, I tell other people this, is that if they tell me, oh, I'm going to do this, that, or the other, I say, can you do that for the rest of your life? If you cannot not eat carbs for the rest of your life, then why are you doing it? If you can't sustain it over a lifetime, it's not going to work. It's just not, because as soon as you start back your old habits, your weight is going to come back. So whenever you do, it has to be something that you can sustain over a lifetime. If it's not sustainable over a lifetime, then you're basically, to me, you're wasting your time. I did it a lot, so I kind of have the experience with that.
What you did?
So what I do now, I'm really like a results-driven person. So once I did start losing weight, the more I lost, because you have a goal, and usually have a goal. Most people have a goal in mind of where you want to be. Mine might not have been, I don't know if it was realistic, but when I got to that goal, I figured that I can do more. And so that's what I did. So basically, I definitely changed my eating habits. I exercise on a regular basis, and I had to put in place this rule for myself, is that I would never make an excuse why I can't do, why I can't exercise. There would be no excuse. And I might not recommend this for everybody, but if I had the sniffles, I still would get up and exercise. If I wasn't bedridden, I would get up and exercise. So I made that for myself, that rule for myself, that there will be no excuses. Because sometimes, and I'm like this, like if I fall off for a couple days, it'll be hard. It's harder for me personally to get back into a routine. So I made that, it's like no excuses. And so I got into running, which I never in my life thought that I would be out running. I started walking, and then just as a challenge to myself, because I got kind of bored with walking, is that I started to run. And so I worked out at work, at the gym at work, and a couple of people used to go out, co-workers used to go out and run every morning. And so one day they invited me to run with them, and I was like, oh no, I don't run fast enough. And they was like, we see you in here running, you're running when we leave out, and you're still running when we come back. Come out with us. And so one day I decided to go out with them. So I met a good group of people to run with, and they were fun. And so they invited me to start racing with them. I'm like, racing? Me? No. And I signed up for my first race. It was a Cherry Blossom 10-miler in 2007. Remember exactly. And I did not believe it. I was like, I don't know what to do, how to train for this, nothing. I never had ran like this before. But I started training, and when that day came, I was so excited. And I remember seeing the finish line, like probably about maybe a little over a quarter mile out, somebody on the side of the road said, as soon as you turn the corner, you're going to see the finish line. So I got all excited, all emotional. And so I don't even know how to explain the feeling of when I turned the corner and actually saw the finish line. Like, could not, even like now, I just like get that little warm feeling all over my body again, because there's no explaining the accomplishment that you feel after, running 10 miles. You come from being over 300 pounds and be able to like run 10 miles without stopping, in one day. So that was the most exhilarating feeling I ever had. And it's hard to explain. Of course, I crossed the finish line crying like a baby, but that gave me the bug. That same year, I ran my first marathon, my first full marathon, and been running ever since. I ran a total of three marathons, and probably close to 20 half marathons and 10 or so 10-milers. So I've been running. I have the running bug now. So, but it's been good, but staying active and having an eating plan in place that you can sustain over a lifetime is what really helps. I do treat myself. I'm not in total denial. I won't say I never eat a piece of cake, because I do. But everything, in moderation. I mean, I think you should, and that helps to keep you going, because you're not always in denial. Like, so if once a week you think you earned a piece of cake or a piece of pie, or even it doesn't have to be a piece of cake or a piece of pie, but a special meal, I think that you should take it and enjoy it, and then move on from that and continue your eating plan and your exercise regimen. The first thing I would say is that you can do it. I know I was in a place where I thought that I couldn't, that's something I would never know. That runs in my family. So I look at all the people in my family, they look like me. I can't get below this weight, or I'm big boned, so I can't do it. So the first thing I can say is that you can do it. Whatever you make up in your mind to do, you can do it. You can always learn. I mean, if you stop learning, you stop living. You can always learn to prepare food properly. You don't have to use the salts, the butters. There's plenty of spices to season your foods without some of those fattening things. You have to start from somewhere. And I have friends also that struggle with weight, and I tell them this, the same things that work for me. I mean, it might not exactly work for you, but you can take something from that and use it. You mess up one day, you always have tomorrow. You always have the next meal to correct. So, it should never be an all or nothing, because I had that experience too. It's usually all or nothing. It should never be all or nothing. You can always start again. Basically, you can do it. You just have to keep trying, and it'll work. Find yourself people that's like you, people who are trying to be healthy. Someone you might see that's doing the things that even you want to do, because those people will help inspire you and give you advice on things that might work for you. I mean, you can try things to see if it works for you, because not everything works for everybody. There's no one size fit all eating plan, in my opinion. This just isn't, because I think we all need different things. So I think just knowing that you can do it, and you have to start somewhere. Everybody's not the same, but you have to start somewhere. And don't do it's all or nothing. You can always, if you mess up today, you always have tomorrow, or you always have the next meal to start over again. Okay, I am Angie Mitchell. I used to weigh over 340 pounds. I have 4 children, work full time. I make time to make my meals every week for the entire week. I make my meals and my husband's meals for the entire week and cook for the children. If I can do it, so can you. What's your excuse?